Welcome back to Weird Stuff in a Can, and today we've got another pie in a can from Fray Bentos. So yeah, another vegetarian pie today from Fray Bentos. Quite a recent addition to their range. Traditionally they've all been about meat pies of varying quality, I have to say, but they've recently branched out into vegetarian and indeed vegan varieties. I've got the vegan one here as well. In a previous video we did the cheese and potato, which is vegetarian. In a future video we'll do the steak and kidney bean, the vegan steak and kidney bean. But we're going to save that one for another occasion. And today we're looking at the vegetable Balti pie, which is a kind of curry with a pastry top. Let's have a look at the ingredients. Vegetables in varying proportions, 55%. Tomato, carrot, peas, onion, potato, red pepper. Then water, wheat flour, margarine, water, salt, emulsifier, modified maize starch, garlic puree, coriander, ginger stem, maize starch, salt, garam masala, which is a mixture of coriander, cumin, pimento, black pepper, cardamom, nutmeg, turmeric, ginger, bay, cloves, cinnamon, paprika, chili, salt, oregano, garlic powder and cayenne. So quite an interesting spice mix there. Then sugar, ground coriander, yeast extract, ginger syrup, ground cumin, red chili puree, ground fenugreek and black pepper. So quite a lot of spices in there, although obviously they are all minor ingredients because they're quite far down the list. What else is there to say? So it's in a metal can. We are looking at a pie that is a curry of mixed vegetables topped with pastry. Instructions on how to use. Read this first because once you've taken the lid off it's hard to read the instructions. So let's just read and memorise. So we're going to place it in a preheated oven at 230°C for 25 to 30 minutes or until the crust has risen and golden brown. So let's open it up and have a look. Now in a previous video, when I opened one of these, there was a manufacturing defect in the pastry top and it was just pushed down like somebody had almost stuck their thumb in it. I'm sure it wasn't that. But there was a manufacturing defect in one side of the pastry. And I mentioned that, and a lot of people said, no, that's a vent for escaping steam. It isn't. It was a manufacturing defect. I know what a vent on a pie looks like. I am a man who owns 3 pie funnels. And a vent on a pie is usually in the middle. And it's usually when it's a pie that's got a crust that goes all the way around, not just a top, because when it's just got a top, there's no need for a vent. The steam gets out the sides. Also, this doesn't have one. Anyway, there's the appearance of the pie. Obviously, the curry has stained the pastry a little bit, but I'm sure that'll still puff up. Just going to take that off first. So yeah, it still amazes me that puff pastry can work after it's been through the canning process. But it does kind of work. Anyway, let's have a sniff. It smells like quite a good curry actually, so it's, yeah, smells like a curry should. So anyway, I'm going to take this downstairs, get it in the oven for 25 minutes or until it's puffed up. It will still be soggy underneath. This puff pastry, unless you take this puff pastry off and cook it separately, there will always be a kind of soggy layer underneath. And some people really love that about these pies. Other people think that that's a defect or that I didn't cook it properly. But anyway, they tend to be like that when they're cooked. Let's go cook it now anyway, and then we'll come back and give it a taste. Okay, oven is up to temperature. So we'll put that in there for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, time is up. Let's have a look. Well, I would say that's done. I think any more than that it's going to start burning. So pastry is nice and crisp coming out of the oven, but we will expect that to sink a little bit and probably soften as it cools. Okay, so back from the kitchen and we've got the vegetable Balti pie to try out here. The pastry has stayed fairly puffed up, but it has softened a little bit, and I did expect that because the steam will have softened the pastry from underneath. Let's cut into it and see what we got. So I think, as before, I'm going to dish up half of this pie, but I probably will end up eating the whole thing. I think that's pretty normal. That eating a whole one of these is not that great a challenge. So there's the pastry top coming off, And as expected, there is some soft. It is cooked, but it's quite soft. Looks a bit like tripe actually. Pastry underneath. I think if I'd gone any further with this, you can see that the sauce had already started to dry out a bit underneath. So I think if I'd gone any further, we'd have just ended up with a dried out filling. So here we go. That is steaming hot, so I've got to be a little bit careful there. But let's just have a look at the filling. So it's peas. That looks like a piece of carrot. I think I can see onions and chunks of potato in there. So it looks okay. It smells very savoury. So that's what it looks like. Let's just have a sniff of that. Now it's cooked. It smells like vegetable soup, but with curry. Okay, time for a taste. That's a very mild curry flavour. It's quite aromatic, but not very high on hot spice. But it's pleasant enough. The whole experience is really a bit like eating, yeah, it is like a chunky vegetable soup with a bit of pastry. It's all right. Now the curious thing about this is I did replay those ingredients while this was cooking, and I couldn't see any conspicuously animal-based products in there in the ingredients, and yet this is only vegetarian, not vegan. If we have a look at the other one, the steak and kidney bean, that's got a vegan approval on it. So the only thing I can think of, there was some stem ginger in here that was preserved with sugar, and sometimes sugar, the refinement process of sugar, uses bone char in the refinement. So I can only really imagine it must be something like that. But anyway. I would say this is better than the cheese and potato one, because it's just got more interesting texture in there, and it's got some recognisable filling rather than just a pastry lid on top of a bit of sauce with a few chunks of potato in it. It's a shame they didn't go a bit hotter with the curry. There is just almost no chili heat there at all that I can sense. And I imagine they've done that to just try to appeal to the widest market possible. I'd say not as satisfying for me as a meat eater as a steak and kidney pie, but it's okay. And I am quite definitely going to eat the other half of this. So I guess, you know, take it from that it's good enough that I'm happy enough to eat the whole thing. And I take on board what people say about this pastry. I can see why some people wouldn't like this soft pastry underneath, but I can also see why other people would. It is cooked, and it is the texture really of soft pasta. Very soft pasta. All in all, I think that's a fair product. Pretty good ratio of filling to pastry on this one. I think it could just do with a little bit more chili in it though. So there we go. That was vegetable Balti pie from Fray Bentos. Weird stuff in a can on atomic shrimp. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.